Hi and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and welcome back to any of you who have subscribed to my channel and have been here before and looked at my other videos. Thank you very much for doing so. And I'd just like to say a big welcome to anybody who has not looked at any of my videos but has come to see what all this is about today. This reading that I'm doing today is for the Cancer Lunar Eclipse, which is taking place today on the 10th of January. And it's a full moon of intense, emotional, internal releasing. There's a huge energy going on at the moment. Cancer is opposing, or the moon in Cancer is opposing all of this Capricorn energy that we've got happening at the same time as well. So I will just start with a brief and very quick rundown of where all the planets are at the moment. I'm not going to go into the in-depth, but I might talk more about it within the reading itself. So as we have this Cancer lunar eclipse today, the Sun is at 20 degrees in Capricorn, Mercury is at 20 degrees in Capricorn, Saturn is at 22 degrees in Capricorn, and Pluto is also at 22 degrees in Capricorn. So the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is going to be exact in 2 days' time, is already really happening. And all of those planets, Sun, Mercury, Saturn and Pluto, are all conjuncting each other. And all of these planets, including Jupiter, which is also in Capricorn at 0,8 degrees, and the South Node is at 0,7 degrees, sorry. I'm not going to give you the minutes because I don't think that's really that relevant at the moment. But Jupiter is conjuncting the South Node as well still. It actually conjuncted exact on the 8th of January, so 2 days ago, before this lunar eclipse, we had Jupiter and the South Node conjuncting each other. We also have the Moon, which is opposing all that Capricorn energy in Cancer, and we also have the North Node at the same time opposing everything that's happening with Jupiter and the conjunction between the South Node. So there's so much extreme energies happening at the moment. Also at the same time we've got not Mercury. Also at the same time I would just like to tell you where Uranus is. Uranus is now at 0,2 degrees and it's about in Taurus, and it's about to go direct within the next few hours. As I'm recording this video, we have already had the lunar eclipse, but we are still in the lunar eclipse energy, which will last right through for 6 months. So from 6 months today, we will still be feeling the energy from this eclipse, and then on top of that we've got this major Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is just about to happen. So Uranus is going to go direct, and Uranus is the last planet that is retrograde at this moment, and after that everything, all the planets are forward motion, and it's kind of saying right now is the time to really start getting into the swing of what's going to happen and what's going to take place in 2020. So no more holding back, although we will be having retrogrades as well, but this is really about forward pushing motion at this moment in time. And Uranus turning direct as well could mean that there will be sudden, very unexpected events happening on the world stage and personally in our lives as well. And we also have Neptune at 16 degrees of Pisces, which is making a wide sextile to both the Sun and Mercury at this time. And it's also trining the Moon, while the Moon is also opposing Sun and Mercury as well. So there's a lot going on. There really is a lot going on at this moment in time. Mars is now in Sagittarius, 4 degrees, more or less 5 degrees in Sagittarius. So Mars is kind of bringing in the dynamic energy, as well as a kind of action, forward motion as well, getting ready to take action. Global energy, because it's in Sagittarius, it's talking about our beliefs as well, and kind of making us really look at what it is that we want to push ahead with. It's also just been making trines to Chiron in Aries, at the very beginning of Aries. Chiron is sitting at the beginning of Aries. And the last planet that I'm going to talk about here is Venus, which is at 26 degrees in Aquarius. So Venus is kind of going to be out on its own, but Venus is very much about the collective. So this is kind of what this energy is kind of talking about at this moment in time, is that we are going to be moving more into a collective energy, a collective way of viewing the world, if you like, rather than viewing it just from an individual level. It's going to be kind of bringing in the whole picture of things, like, you know, instead of it just working, something just working for the few, this is about saying, like, you know, this is time for us to start looking at everybody, at the many, and not just those people that that hold the power at this moment in time. So I'm going to leave that there. There is a lot more that I could say about that at this moment in time, but I really would like to just get on with my reading and really kind of express through the tarot cards exactly what I think is going on. And interestingly enough, the first card that we have coming out here is the Death card, which is all about transformation. This is very much Pluto. This is Hades. This is kind of the energy of change, of transformation, of things dying in order for other things to take their place. And this for me is talking about the collective history that we're having to kind of let go of, because this moon is all about releasing. It's all about releasing our emotional history that we have kind of been carrying with us and taking through into our new stories. And this is saying that we need to let these go. And see these children down here kind of offering up these kind of this flower to the figure of death. It kind of says to me that, you know, that in order for us to move forward, we have to be prepared to kind of, I wouldn't say pay our way, but kind of face our fears as well, I think. It's just this little person. I think it kind of represents humanity down here, and like the size of us compared to kind of how big a thing this transformation is, how massive the energy is that we're going to go through. The sun here, for me, is kind of rising in the background. It's like a new day is dawning. And Pluto and Saturn energy is very much about kind of bringing in, or Pluto especially, or Pluto Hades, it's very much about bringing in that new energy. But in order to do so, we have to release, we have to let go, we have to, and that's interesting, what came out with this card is the Hangman. So this is our challenge at the moment, because I am doing the Celtic cross. So this is the challenge for us, is to let ourselves release whatever it is that we need to release, to let go, to allow whatever is to be sacrificed, in the sense of it's no longer working for us, it's no longer what we need in our lives. We no longer need it. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to hold on to it, because we can find it difficult as human beings to let go of things. So that's what this is saying to me here. And there's almost an element, because Saturn and Pluto are already conjunct, there is almost an element here as well for me of the fact that within the story of the Saturn and Pluto conjunctions, there is 3 different cycles that we're trying to kind of come to terms with and let go of. Because the last time that Saturn and Pluto met up together was back in 1982. So there is that cycle of what happened then, which was during the time of, they met up in Libra, sorry. So all that kind of period of time after Saturn and Pluto met up in Libra, which is all about relationships, I kind of feel that there was a, there was a big shift towards people divorcing a lot easier. Kind of it shifted out of that, you stay together no matter what for the sake of the family and the children and, what your neighbours might have thought. And so, there was kind of that very strong urge, conditioning as well, of where we'd been brought up to kind of have to do it because we would have gone against the grain, I suppose. We would have kind of been challenging in some way the story that we'd been brought up with, that, it was a bad thing to do, it was a wrong thing to do. If you were with somebody, if you married somebody, then you were with them no matter what, because that's what the vows say. So so that's one story that is, or one cycle, shall we say, that's related to this Saturn Pluto. But then we also can go back to 1517 as well, which was the last time Saturn and Pluto met up in Capricorn, which is where they are now. And that story, interestingly enough, also involves the Catholic Church, because I do think that, the Catholic Church had a big part to play in this whole kind of, you don't divorce and, you married and that was it, regardless of how your relationship was. You either took mistresses and just carried on being married, or you just put up with it and lived a very unhappy life, whether that was the man or the woman. So you either took mistresses or lovers, or you you just stood by your vows and you just were not very happy. But in 1517, Martin Luther, a Protestant in Germany, nailed his theses to a church door, a Catholic church door, kind of giving all these different reasons as to why he thought that the Catholic Church was wrong. And that was really how the Protestant religion came into being. And also, in the UK, it's also how during that period of time with Henry VIII, we had the dissolution of the monasteries, and we also had the first kind of, royal divorce as well, because Henry divorced from Catherine of Aragon, his first wife, and married Anne Boleyn, of course. So it kind of changed everything within our story of, you know, our history, and very much was against the Catholic kind of, you know, you stick with whatever it is, even if you're not happy. And that is really part of that story. But then there's another part of the story which goes back even further in another cycle, where all the planets that are in Capricorn last met up. So that's Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto all meeting up together. And that storyline goes back to 1285, which was a time of kind of serfdom, and also, interestingly enough, I believe it was Richard the Lionheart and the kind of invasion of the Middle East and kind of Christianity and holy wars. And so there's also elements of that happening as well with what's just gone down recently. That kind of closure, hopefully, of that whole cycle. But that is also another major cycle that is being closed out here. So that's what this is saying to me, is that there's storylines being closed out, there's things that are having to be let go of, having to be ended, final, end, no more, no going back, no doing this again, we're over it, we've finished, we've done. It's time to move on. But at the same time, our challenge is to let that happen. And the only way we can let that happen is to kind of hang ourselves in some kind of state of limbo and almost kind of allow whatever is coming to just kind of come in to being without us trying to make it happen or force anything, which I know sounds quite a bizarre place to be, but this is a very kind of Neptunian energy, and Neptune is playing a big part in this lunar eclipse today, as well as in the conjunction that's going to be taking place in 2 days' time. Neptune being surrender, kind of the ocean, kind of like the vastness, the nebulousness, the kind of mystical and the unknown realm in many ways. So here, Prometheus, who's also said to have been responsible, shall we say, for the creation of the human race, and also stole the fire from the gods, which was a big no-no, and which was why Zeus hung him from this rock, because he kind of gave the human race something that was supposed to only be for the gods. The gods kind of, it separated the gods from the human race, because it kind of gave them, it kept the human race, shall we say, in this kind of place of servitude, of looking up to the gods and kind of seeing them as being more powerful, because they could do things that we couldn't. And having fire was one of those things, because without fire, you're cold, you're hungry, you can't cook food, you can't keep yourself warm. So really it kind of changed the human race in that sense, being given the gift of fire by Prometheus. But fire is also creativity as well, symbolically. It kind of represents our creative energy. So that's an interesting storyline as well. So those are the first two cards. And what's in our head and what we're aware of at the moment in the collective is very much this, sorry about this, lighting's very bad, this King of Pentacles, which is very much the Capricorn energy here. You can even see a goat in the background there. Very Capricorn energy, very kind of all about stability, all about practicality, all about kind of achievement, mastery over something, and he's in the head position, so he's very much at the top of above everything else at the moment in the reading. He's kind of sitting above it all, which actually at this moment in time Capricorn energy is very much there. We are in Capricorn energy, the sun is in Capricorn energy, so the Capricorn energy is so powerful. It's kind of overriding everything else. And it is kind of saying, you know, it's time for us to grow up. It is time for us to master our feelings and our emotions. It's time for something to be, because Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn is a very slow moving energy as well. Incredibly slow moving. Capricorn likes to take its time, doesn't like to rush, it doesn't want to make mistakes, it wants to make sure that everything is as it should be before. So it's a real kind of, well, it's the ruler of time. Saturn is the ruler of time, he's the lord of karma. And so it's kind of saying to me that the changes that are coming are going to be so huge, so massive, that they're going to, over a period of time. This isn't just something that's going to be like, oh, you know, 2 days time and everything is going to change. No, it's not going to happen like that. This is long time coming, long lasting energy. This is energy that's been building and building and building for at least the last 2 years, if not longer. Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008, so Pluto has been there for almost 12 years, sitting in Capricorn, kind of forcing us to reevaluate a lot of things, renovate, change, upgrade, kind of what it's like. And Pluto kind of represents, or Hades kind of represents, the energy of well, it's very much rebirth, birth, death, rebirth, the phoenix rising from the ashes. So I just feel very strongly that this Capricorn energy here is very dominant, and is going to be very dominant for quite some time to come, because Pluto is still not going to leave Capricorn for a wee while yet. So we have, with the King of Earth, King of Pentacles, we have the Four of Water, and the Four of Water is about a feeling of disappointment, a feeling of yeah, disappointment. But in this card as well, I get the feeling this is kind of the Neptunian card, that this represents the water element, the Pisces element here. And a sense of kind of, I suppose, in a way of dreaming the new into reality. And that's kind of what's going on here, is that she's offering, she has this very large, if you look at this card, she has this very large pearl. She's got one there, another one down here, another one here. But this one is kind of extra big, and it's almost like it's the world itself. and she's kind of offering it and saying, like, you know, this is what you can create. Because I always like to think of this as being something that's been irritating as well, because that's, you know, it literally comes from a grain of sand. And I talk about this every time with these cards in particular, that this starts out as a grain of sand, and it's only because the oyster is irritated by it that the, you know, the pearl ever actually comes into existence. And so I get a feeling that there's, you know, this is the sense of kind of disappointment, and is that, you know, we're disappointed with what we've created. There's yeah, there's, you know, there's not an awful lot of kind of fairness or balance or justice or any of the good things, shall we say, that there should be on this earth plane at this moment in time. They're not really in existence. So I think that this is what this kind of card is saying here, and this pearl here is saying, you know, you can create something much more beautiful. You can create something that's much more worthwhile. But also, because I get a feeling of it being kind of the Neptune energy, and Neptune being the realm of not just illusion, but also the dream world, really, kind of dreaming things into being, like, you know, daydreaming. When you're daydreaming, you're kind of thinking about how you would like things to be, or life to be, or, you know, you kind of wander off into another energy and another realm altogether for a wee while. That's the second time I've used that expression, I've noticed. So so yeah, that's what I think this is saying, you know, the disappointment in the physical reality at this moment in time is saying that we can change it. But in order to do so, we have to kind of, well, I suppose that, I mean, this is also a very Piscean card, in the sense that it's about surrender and letting go, and that's very much the Piscean energy. Surrender, let go. It's the expression, let go and let God. Let the universal energy flow through to create what needs to be created, rather than us trying to force something to be the way we want, because we have kind of done that for a long time now, and we've not done a very good job of it, mostly because of selfish needs and greeds, but which can also be kind of a pentacle, or sorry, yeah, a king of pentacles, a kind of Midas thing as well. This greed down here, he also has this kind of huge pile of money, because everything that Midas touches turns to gold, which isn't always a good thing. It may sound like a good thing until you're trying to eat or sleep or touch somebody or have somebody touch you, and it's kind of, you know, it becomes more of a burden, shall we say. It becomes something that's not such a good thing. It becomes something that's more, that overpowers you rather than you overpowering it, if you know what I mean. It's like it kind of controls your life. It takes over your life. But I also think that there's a message here as well within this pile of gold here, is that because Capricorn is also about what's the word I'm looking for? I suppose mastery as well. We talked about mastery a little bit, but it is also about mastery. So it's about mastering our emotions over over greed and kind of this feeling of never having enough, maybe. How much is enough? When is enough enough? So that's the kind of energies I feel are in play at the moment with those cards. And we have the Queen of Pentacles, interestingly enough, at the bottom of this, in the position of our subconscious. And the Queen of Pentacles to me is always about our ability to take care of ourselves, in the sense of our health and our wealth in some ways. But the Queen also, I feel when she's in this upside down position, the Queen of Pentacles finds it very difficult to kind of forgive. There's an unforgiving element within the Queen of Pentacles. If she's crossed too many times, she can become quite stern, quite harsh. She's a fixed earth sign, Pentacles, fixed. Very difficult to kind of make her change her mind as well, once her mind has been made up about something. And I think that this is kind of our, you know, our subconscious is we are kind of fixed in our stories. We have become kind of comfortable in on our thrones, in our realms, in our world, in our kind of history and our history, our stories, our workplaces. And kind of feeling of I don't really want to have to move. I don't really want to have to change anything. I like it the way it is. Why do I have to go to the bother of making something else? Yeah, there's something else. There's another message coming through with this. The message here. Stubbornness. There can be a real stubbornness here. A real, dig your feet in. I'm not doing anything. I'm not changing. I'm not moving. This is who I am and this is how I'm staying. Because this is very much the kind of Taurian card. She's even got these Taurus, these bulls on the throne there. You can see that up that way. Another message I think as well is kind of a representation of the earth herself, because she is such an earthy element. It could also be a representation here of how the earth, how we've treated the earth, how we've kind of plundered the earth and how we've not kind of taken care of it, because that is kind of her thing, really. Queen of Pentacles, her thing is taking care. She likes to take care of the environment. She likes to take care of those that she loves, her family. But upside down, I get the feeling that it's representing the fact that we have not really taken as much care as we should or could over the years. And it's leading us to where we are today with all these problems that we have in the world. But also, like I say, she can be very unforgiving if crossed too many times. A bit like the earth herself, I feel as well, that, you know, there is an unforgiving side to the earth as well. She can be cruel, she can cut things out quite easily. In the sense of, you know, the earth can cause earthquakes, it can kill hundreds of people at time. Also, we have Uranus in this element at the moment, and Uranus is very much about sudden, fast, quick change. So that could also be coming up as well. So the cards that came out with this Queen is the Six of Rods, Six of Wands, Six of Fire. And it is about victory. It is about kind of, you see, he's coming home from the wars, he's coming home from the battle, he's coming home from whatever adventure he's been on, and he's victorious. He's victorious because he's being welcomed back. If you see here, everybody's out there and they're kind of recognising what he's done, and they're cheering, and they're kind of all very pleased. And the flags are flying as well, so that's a sign that, you know, everything's good. And for me, I get the feeling of like of this being the cycle of victory, of the holy wars, and kind of coming back from the holy wars, and feeling that we've done the right thing, that was what was asked of us in that sense. It was kind of, you know, a very kind of, literally, when it's kind of holy war, you know, it was your God versus my God, and we are victorious, therefore our God is more powerful than yours. That's the feeling that I'm getting from this, and it's coming out underneath all of this as well. Well, I say all of this, it's coming out with the Queen of Pentacles, along with the Four of Swords, which is saying to me that after this victory, after this battle that has happened, there has been this time of kind of things staying pretty much the same. More of the same. And this card is often seen as being a card of stillness, meditation, not doing anything, kind of time out. A card of time out. But I'm also getting from it today that it is a kind of like a power card, in the sense of with these swords here as well, you know, it's like we know that we can just lift up our swords and go back to battle if we need to. Again, I get the feeling that it's kind of connected to this 1285 cycle, which I think is quite a major ending, a major cycle, because 5 planets all lining up together at the same time, which hasn't happened since 1285, is a major event, because like in 1285, that was the time when it was kind of all beginning, when it was kind of being set in stone, and now it's kind of being destroyed by Pluto, by Hades. He's kind of wrecking all that history, if you like, and saying that's it, you know, we have to put this to rest. And we have this beautiful sun card that's come out with this as well, which really does have this kind of zodiac clock in it as well. So it's talking to me all about kind of the timing of things, and how the sun kind of is illuminating everything. It's like everything is going to become illuminated. Everything is going to suddenly be illuminated, and we're going to see things a lot clearer. We're going to see things that have been kept in the dark, the things that we've been kind of kept secret and hidden and out of our view, is going to start coming into our view. It's going to start being a light is going to be shone on it. I think myself personally, I think that's been happening for quite some time now, but I think this light is going to get brighter and brighter and stronger and stronger. Also, I think that another message here as well is the fact that the sun itself is changing, and these are another stories that may well come out over the next few years, as well as these changes that are happening within our solar system itself, and all the planets out there are changing. It's not just our planet, the one that we live on, that is being affected. All the planets are being affected. And there is also the fact that we are moving out of the part of the galaxy that we've been in for a long time and moving into another part of the galaxy, which isn't something that you hear in everyday news, but it is occurring. So that also speaks to me about this as well, about why everything is changing and why things are going to become new. This is the closing of a cycle. This is the closing of a very long cycle. And our moving into another part of the galaxy also has something to do with the closing out of that cycle. And the energies that are going to start coming in as we move into this other part of the galaxy are going to change us and our DNA, and we are going to kind of upgrade over the next 20, 30, 40 years or so. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight event as such, but it is going to take place, this upgrading. But also I feel very strongly that this is about us becoming more aware of this, aware of the fact that we haven't been given all, and we're still not being given all the truth, the light kind of being shone on the, like a switch being turned on, like a torch being shone at something so that you can suddenly see in the dark. So what we've had hanging around for a while, the energies that's moving away, is the Ten of Cups. And for me, this card literally represents the story or the cycle of Libra and Saturn and Pluto in Libra, and the relationships and the way that they changed in the 80s when Saturn and Pluto came together. And they're going to change again now that Saturn and Pluto are coming back together. Last time, like I said, it was in Libra, this time being in Capricorn. It's more about mastery. It's more about us kind of, like here, if you see Eris and Psyche have kind of come together, but each of these cups here represents a trial and a tribulation that they had to go through in order for that to actually occur. It was not an easy relationship. It is a relationship of soulmates. They are absolutely meant for each other, but soulmates is not always an easy relationship to have. And there has been a lot of closing out of karmic relationships, and I think that's what this is talking about as well. People that thought they were going to spend the rest of their life with somebody, or they were going to marry somebody, or they have been married to somebody. I also feel that that whole thing is going to change as well, like marriage itself is going to change. I know it already has kind of changed in the sense that not everybody feels the need as much as before to get married, but I think there's going to also be a kind of more of a freedom element involved in that, possibly also because of Venus being in Aquarius during the lunar eclipse today, and also when Saturn and Pluto finally are exact, Venus will be in Aquarius, which is kind of much more about the collective and about change and innovation and doing things differently and kind of out with tradition. Never mind the tradition. Let's do it differently. And so we also have, with this card coming out, the Queen of Wands, Queen of Fire, which is reversed. There's a lot of cards that are in reverse in this reading, I noticed. A lot of upside down cards. Normally for me, upright, this queen would be a queen of a vision, a visionary, somebody who kind of holds an idea in place, regardless of whether or not her dream is coming true at any given time. She will remain true to it. If she gives her heart to somebody, she will remain true to them. But when it's upside down, and I think that's kind of reflective of this energy here, is that it has kind of been that kind of passion-driven. Relationships have been passion-driven, I feel, more than they have been kind of heart-driven, shall we say. A lot of relationships has been much more about kind of passion, sexual urges. And because it's in reverse, it's kind of saying to me that that's not how it's going to continue. That's not what it's going to be about. It's going to be more about finding our loyalty, in a way. Our loyalty to somebody. Loyalty to ourselves. Maybe not kind of just giving our creativity away to somebody as easily as we have done in the past. Maybe becoming more self-reliant as well with our own story and our own creativity. And we also have this card come out as well, which again is the King of Earth, King of Pentacles. I'm not sure about the colouring when that happens. Yeah, King of Earth, King of Pentacles, which in this card is very kind of embedded, shall we say. There's a real kind of look about him that he's kind of old and very kind of, maybe he's also very wise. He also represents the earth energies of Capricorn, Taurus and Virgo, particularly Capricorn, I feel at the moment. It's very, the earth energies are really strong in general at the moment, with Uranus in Taurus and everything in Capricorn. But I feel as though it's kind of saying that although we have to kind of change and renovate and kind of transform, within this card there's also an element of, like, you know, don't lose the wisdom that we've learnt, and look for the wisdom that we've learnt. I think also that this kind of, these kind of coins down here can represent the gold within the kind of within the darkness of the storyline, if you like, you know, the kind of bits of gold that we can take through with us as we shift into these different energies. So I think that's what this is saying to me, is that, you know, don't lose sorry don't lose the the wisdom. There's a real kind of wisdom here and very earth related as well. Maybe it's about going back to the wisdom of the earth as well, which we have kind of lost a lot of and become a lot more disconnected from it. Maybe that's part why we have so many problems today as well. So let's try and get through this before... Nope, not that card, sorry, this card comes out first. Again, for me, another relationship card. 7 of Cups. Up this way. Psyche is kind of sitting there on bended knees, begging to Aphrodite to give her what she needs. And Aphrodite is kind of pointing to all these cups, these castles in the air, and kind of saying to her, but, you know, you can have any of this, anything here. Just, you know, ask me and it will be yours. And Psyche's going, but I don't want any of that. I don't want any of these goodies, any of these illusions, any of these kind of, you know, things that you think are going to make me happy. What I'm actually wanting, what I really am searching for is this. This, my true love. But this is upside down at the moment. The energy has been kind of, I feel, the energy has been kind of misplaced, shall we say? And this also came out upside down as well. So it really does speak to me of this real kind of state of confusion, of us not really knowing what it is that we really want. Although we're being offered many different things, which for me kind of represents the way the world is today, in the sense of things kind of replacing the realness of life, if you like. Replacing our real emotions, replacing our, I kind of want to say, our reason for being here. Kind of distractions. These are distractions from our soul journey and our purpose, which we've become very kind of enamored with, even though they do cause states of confusion within us. Things like, oh, you know, you must have the latest phone, you must have the latest TV, you must listen and watch this program, you must, and it's kind of bombarded, you know, there's all these adverts telling us what we must have and how kind of if we don't have them then our life is incomplete and we are nobody, you know. We're not as important as the person who does have these things. And then we go out and we get these things and we're still not satisfied and we're still not happy, because we think we're going to find our happiness here, when in fact we're not. We're going to find our happiness from within. From within our kind of knowing our, what's the message I'm getting here? Knowing our true contentment, our true happiness, our true story again, I think, somehow, our true kind of you know, kind of a sense of from looking within and finding our own place in the world. our own place in the world. Where do we fit in? Where do we feel most comfortable? And who do we feel most comfortable with? And that can also be to do with kind of tribal family as well. Friends, people who we resonate with, people who we connect with because we have the same energies and the same kind of beliefs. And I think that a lot of this is all about distraction from what we really need, which is very much the Cancerian energies of what's going on at the moment with the moon, the full moon, the Cancerian energies. And we have this King of Cups who is kind of representative of the Cancer energies. King of Cups, water energy, Scorpio and Pisces, but I see him very much as the Cancer card, being kind of the king of kind of compassion and intuition and knowing, instinctual, very kind of intuitive, very kind of aware of his emotions. Emotions running incredibly deep, but as I was saying with this card here, that this is kind of what we are lacking, if you like, is the knowing of ourselves in that sense. It's almost like all those distractions stop us from really knowing who we are. And the Cancer moon is all about the things that we need, like security, safety, home, protection, our past, childhood, all the kind of things that give us a sense of security and safety. King of Cups, very good at taking care of other people, not so good at taking care of himself. And in reverse here, I would say very much that this is kind of about us not being aware or not being able to take care of our emotional needs. Our emotional needs have been kind of ignored for quite some time, just kind of seen as being irrelevant, of not really any value, of being kind of what's the word I'm thinking of here? Inappropriate at times, I suppose, kind of, you know, people's reactions to other people's emotions as well can kind of cause a feeling of like, you know, that was wrong, I shouldn't have poured out my feelings onto that person. And, you know, so our emotions can be seen as being very well, I'd just like to say undervalued, because I think that for a long time now it's all been about the head, it's all been about academia, it's all been about kind of intellect and what we can remember rather than what we can feel, what we sense, what we know on an inner level. And we have the Judgment card here as well. And this is all the energy that's coming into play. In the Judgment card here, this is literally Hermes, this is Mercury, this is, in astrology, this is the kind of, Mercury is the main character in astrology because Mercury is the messenger of the gods. So Mercury moves the fastest, zips around, well, apart from the moon, zips around the zodiac, receiving messages which he then goes on and passes on to the other planets and has these kind of communications and stories and things. So each time he moves into another sign, interestingly enough as well, the energy of Mercury is neutral. He isn't a benefic and he isn't a malefic. He's a neutral planet, but when he meets up with either, he will take on their energy. So he will become more of that. And here in this card for me, this is Hermes. This is his higher form. This is kind of his god form, if you like, Hermes. And you've got the caduceus here, which is the wand of creativity, and these snakes here representing the DNA. I was talking earlier about the sun and moving into this other part of the our galaxy, and how the DNA is going to also be upgrading. And we have here these kind of ghosts being pulled up from the past as well, the history, the stories, the releasing. This is what this is all about. And because it's inside this cave, or inside this kind of temple with these pillars here, but you have to go down the steps to get to it. This literally is kind of inner work, and this is very much what the moon is about at the moment. It's all very internal stuff. It's all very emotional. It's all very in-depth. Cancerian, like I was just saying, childhood, past, mother, wanting to hide, wanting to be in a shell, wanting to be protected, wanting to be secure, needing a feeling of safety. And also this card here came out with it, the Nine of Swords, which is all about a kind of deep, dark nightmares, all our biggest fears, which I kind of feel is this as well, kind of facing up to things, and we don't necessarily want to. And when it's in reverse, it's definitely saying to me, we definitely don't want to. There is a very strong feeling here that we do not want to kind of look at this energy, this kind of letting go, releasing, starting something else, because sometimes it is kind of that feeling of, you know, what you know, even if it's something that's not very nice and you don't get anything from it, like it doesn't feed you, it doesn't kind of nurture you, it doesn't kind of help you to grow. In fact, it has the opposite effect, and it just kind of gives you a sense of everything's wrong with the world and nothing's ever going to work out right, and just look around at the world and you can see that it's all kind of in this awful state at the moment. And that's all this energy here, and this is all the old stories that are needing to be released, because if we keep repeating them, nothing's going to change. And this is why we keep going over the same old, you know, it's like that saying that, you know, if you keep doing the same thing, you're just going to get the same result. If you don't change something, then nothing's going to ever change. It's the same as what's that one by, I think it's Albert Einstein, about how mine's going completely blank now, about how you can't change something from the same level of consciousness that created it. So in order to really change something, the level of consciousness has to be higher, in the sense of understanding, of awareness, than whatever it was that created that problem in the first place. And unfortunately, we've lived for so many years now just kind of trying to fix and solve our problems from the same level of consciousness, because we keep kind of getting people in power who have the same ideas over and over and over again, and nothing's changing. Although it is now. Things are changing, things are shifting. but it's been a long time. A lot of history. So that's what this card is saying to me. And then we have these, this card, so this card came out first. The Knight of Cups came out in the place of where we are at this moment in time. The Knight of Cups in reverse is saying to me that we're all wanting, really, what we all really want is love. What we all really want is somebody to share. And we're all kind of looking around to see if that's going to kind of come into being, if you like. A new sense of, well, the Knights are always about kind of messengers and kind of messages and kind of bringing something forth, a new offering, because they always carry something with them that they're going to offer to somebody. But because it's in reverse, it's kind of saying to me that at the moment everybody's kind of stuck in the same place of not quite knowing where they should be, who they should be with, what path they should be going down, and how are they going to make a difference. And it came out with the Two of Wands, which is also in reverse as well. So the Two of Wands is kind of saying that there is this need to come out of our caves. There's this need to kind of recognize, if you like, that it's time to move forward. Two of Wands to me always is about moving forward with a new idea. But again, because it's in reverse, it's kind of saying that at the moment where we are collectively right now is in this place of being kind of stuck in stillness, and kind of, I suppose, this is where we are. We're in this kind of place of not really knowing, of surrendering, of kind of wanting something new, wanting a new beginning, wanting something creative that we can kind of explore and change and bring into the reality. But as of yet, we haven't quite started going down that path. And that's probably because as of yet, we haven't quite managed to release the old. We're still in that process that hasn't even actually occurred as such yet. But we are aware, if you like, we are aware already that this has been kind of ongoing. Again, relationship related. And I feel this is relationship related as well. I'm kind of looking for that new energy, that new person. Or it could also be somebody from the past as well. It doesn't have to be a new person. It could also be somebody who you've had relationship with, and now you're looking to do things differently. And we have in the collective energy of how we're viewing each other, again, another relationship orientated card. And I think it's very much to do with this 37-year cycle of Saturn and Pluto having been in Libra the last time they connected, because Temperance, I can't see it very well unfortunately, there we go. Temperance is a beautiful card of relationships. The silver and the gold cup to me literally represents the heart, the silver being the female and the gold being the masculine, the male, and this kind of rainbow energy kind of represents the chakra system as well, the kind of balance, the balance within. And you can see here she's got these beautiful wings as well. She is an angel. Temperance is an angel. And she wears this gorgeous kind of white flowing dress, and she's next to this river, which for me represents the flowing of a relationship, how a relationship needs to flow and change in order to grow and to keep going and to keep, why she kind of pours the cup from one to the other. So for me it's all about communication, and at the moment the thing that's lacking is communication. The thing that's kind of the flow isn't happening at the moment, this whole flow, and that is very much the kind of story here as well, and kind of energies here as well of just kind of staying in the same place at the moment. But this is what we are wanting. Ultimately, this is what we're wanting. We're wanting this up this way. We want things to keep flowing. We want things to keep changing and growing, and for us also to change and grow. Because if we don't change and grow, then things just stagnate. Things just stay the same. And that's, I kind of feel, the collective human story as well, is that things are just staying the same, because there isn't enough kind of flow of communication maybe between people as well, and in the sense of almost like we've got to the end of a book, but as we've gone through the book, it's like words have been taken out. So we're kind of limited now with what we can say and how we say it. And I think that's kind of representing the sense of we are being more and more kind of trapped by society itself into a way of being. And that's partly what we need to break through and break out of. And to kind of release. So it's like, how can you have a proper conversation, or how can you have a relationship with somebody? And this is what this card is about. It is literally about relationships. Temperance does not exist outside of a relationship. She only ever exists within a relationship. So how can you have a relationship if you have very limited communication, or very limited words to express? So it's almost like we're being kind of boxed in. That's kind of how I'm feeling it. It's kind of being kind of boxed in and kind of limited in our expression and our kind of what am I getting here? I'm kind of, it's on a bigger scale of kind of a feeling of limitation within our relationships, but limitation within our lives, as in what we can and can't do within our lives, is also kind of being halted, stopped, kind of lack of oxygen. Because if a river doesn't flow, if water doesn't flow and the oxygen dies within that, then everything within it will stagnate. And I feel that that's kind of where we ourselves as a collective human race is at the moment. We are in this kind of stagnant energy, this kind of stagnant pull, which is kind of, I think, in this card as well, represented here. Kind of this stagnant, this fish is kind of like leaping out of the water. Almost like it needs to kind of get out of that environment. So quickly moving on, because I need to do this before my time runs out. Hopes and fears. Hopes and fears. Knight of Pentacles, again, messenger, earth energy, value. How do we value something? Self-worth as well in some ways. Quite an independent energy. An energy that likes to work hard. It's a hard-working energy. It's an energy of kind of, you know, you put the time in on something, whether that's a relationship, whether that's work itself, whether that's family, whether that's something you're building, creating. But it's all about kind of putting that time into it. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to get the result that you want. But at the moment, it's in reverse. So that's kind of saying to me that, again, this feeling of kind of being stuck, this feeling of kind of isolation maybe as well. Of maybe not feeling as though our needs are being met, or that we are not worth having our needs met. Because that's what the Knight of Pentacles talks to me about, is getting your needs met on a in the physical realm, and value yourself. How much do you value yourself in order to be able to do that for yourself as well, particularly when it's upside down. When it's up this way, I'd say it's more about somebody who's looking to take this coin to somebody else and say, I want to work with you. But it is slow moving energy. It is the earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus and Virgo energy. So it is very slow. We've got these two cards come out with it as well. This first card that came out with it, upside down again, the Three of Pentacles, which is saying to me this kind of energy of not working together, or things not working for us. Of maybe this isolation as well, maybe this feeling that we've isolated ourselves to the point where we can't really feel, we don't really feel as though we work as a, as a team anymore. That there's no teamwork here, there's no kind of collaboration. But it's in our hopes and our fears, because so it's something that we're kind of, it's not actual, it's not real in the sense of it can't be changed, and it's kind of not set in stone, if you like, even though it's very kind of in the physical realm, both being pentacles. I just get this strong feeling of teamwork, there needing to be teamwork. And also with the Five of Cups here as well, this sense of disappointment, this sense of it doesn't matter how much I put into something, it just doesn't seem to want to work out. Usually the Five of Cups is up this way, or I say usually it's up that way. I mean, if it was up that way, it would still be a card of kind of despair. If you look here, he's kind of despairing, and he's got these two cups behind him, but he's only kind of focused down here on these ones that have spilt, and it's upside down. So it's kind of saying to me that there is this general despair at the moment, this kind of feeling of despair, of that, you know, maybe a feeling that nothing's going to change. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the fear is this feeling that it isn't ever going to change, that we are always going to be kind of maybe serfs in serfdom, and kind of, you know, feeling of being disappointed or betrayed or despairing because we can't see a way out of it. that we've kind of walked into it without really realizing. It's been slow coming. But also with this card here, kind of feeling of maybe, you know, are we doing what we want to be doing? Are we really working the jobs that we want to be working, and even doing it for our own benefit, or are we benefiting other people more than we're benefiting ourselves when we do go to work? So there's also that element within those cards as well. And lastly, no, I say lastly, there's a lot more cards to go. I'm going to try and get through these quite quickly. The World in reverse is saying to me precisely this kind of feeling as well, that it feels like there's no ending to this cycle, that it's just going to be ongoing. But I do believe that that is something that the collective is kind of just more, it's more this energy, if you like. It's more that kind of nightmare vision, belief, stuck in this nightmare, stuck in this trap of this is how it is. It's kind of just nothing's going to change. World in reverse, nothing's going to change. But we have the Nine of Pentacles as well, which kind of says to me that if anything is going to change, if we want to make changes, we have to become more confident in ourselves. We have to find our own self-worth. We have to find our self-esteem. We have to be able to stand up for who and what we believe in, and create something that is more that is more about our individual self-worth as well, about how we are rewarded for what we do, how we keep our rewards. Yeah. That we are worth, maybe we are worth more than what we realise. We are worth more than what we have given ourselves credit for. But also there's a sense in this card for me as well of kind of looking about how far we've come, and the fact that the only person that can ever get you to anywhere is yourself. Other people can help, other people can offer guidance. But at the end of the day, it's always down to the individual as to whether or not they take that advice, whether or not they actually make a difference themselves, change something themselves, and kind of look back and say, wow, look what I have done, look what I've achieved, look what I've look how far I've come. And I think that is also a collective story here as well that we need to be aware of. To stop just kind of looking at the negative all the time. I like the way she's got this little tiny flower in her hand here, and she's kind of holding it really kind of gently, as if it's very, very precious. She sees the kind of preciousness, even though she's got all this around her, all this kind of treasure. This to her has so much more meaning than all of this. I really like that. So we have 4 more cards that came out with these cards here, or with the Nine of Earth in particular, because I asked for clarification on this card, and what we got for the collective was the Ace of Cups in reverse, which again I think is about relationships. I think it's about us having to look at relationships in a different way. Although if it was up that way, I would be saying, you know, that everything's kind of clear and there's going to be a new idea of love, but because it's in reverse, I kind of get the feeling that we're not going to know what to do with it when it comes. It's going to be so kind of these relationships that are going to come in are going to be very different to relationships that we've had in the past. So there's going to be a new energy about them, a new sense of independence, and a new sense of kind of, you know, you can't have so much control, I think, as well. I think that's an element that we're going to have to kind of work with as well. It's like not putting our own control onto our relationships. And once more we have the King of Pentacles come out, again in reverse. So King of Pentacles, this earth energy is very much in play here. It's kind of earth realm, again, value, self-value, asking us as well, I feel, how much we've learnt about ourselves, a kind of sense of self-mastery. Have we mastered these things? Have we mastered our emotions and our kind of needs and values of things? We do have the Four of Wands up the right way, which could be to do with relationships, but I also feel that this is about new foundations as well, building new foundations as we release the old and things really start to change, which they're going to do enormously right the way across the world globally. And because it's in Capricorn, it's going to be very much to do with establishment, politics, governments, power changes within the global map as well, in the global story. But I think this is about us kind of putting down new foundations to build something from the bottom up, because it's all being taken down from the top down. It's going down from the top down, like a bit like a controlled demolition in a way. That's how I view it, controlled demolition. And once the controlled demolition kind of reaches an end, we're going to eventually get round to rebuilding. I think that's what this is all about as well. The Capricorn energy is about rebuilding. And we also have this card, which again was not in reverse, so that's a nice way to end the reading, is with the 10 of rods, 10 of wands, 10 of fire, which is all about an ending, literally a 10, ending on an ending. And the ending here is saying, put this down, let it go, it's gone, it's done, it's ended, it's finished, it is no more. You can move into something else. And I think for me this is kind of almost like the moon and the lunar eclipse kind of thing, as the light kind of moves across the moon here. So that's very much, I think, the story here in this card, is that we no longer need to carry all this baggage and this history around with this cycles within the cycles of time. And where we are now is a time to let it go, to move on to something new. Because this is the Saturn and Pluto in Libra 1982 cycle. It's also the Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn 15-17 cycle. And lastly, for me, it is also the Saturn, Pluto, Sun, Mercury and Jupiter cycle. And what makes it all so even bigger this time round, and kind of much more final, shall we say, is that we also have had the South Node moving through Capricorn all this time. So this is really kind of about clearing out karmic things and endings and just, yeah, no more. No more. And so this is the 1285 cycle as well, which is closing out, which is the biggest cycle of them all, with all those 5 planets meeting up again. Last time that they did so was in 1285. That is a huge period of time, of history, of everything becoming set in stone to the point where we have to kind of break through it. So that is the card that I'm going to leave this reading on, and say I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you managed to kind of understand the message that I'm trying to get out there for you all. If you have enjoyed my video, please can you thumbs it up for me, give me a like. Also tap the bell if you want to receive any future videos that I will be putting out, and please subscribe. Really trying to grow my channel this year in 2020. I really want to get my messages out there. They're not the normal kind of tarot reader message. My tarot readings probably never have been of a normal type of tarot style, shall we say. So if you think anybody that you know would be interested in listening to this reading, please could you also share it with them. And if you want to know any more about your own astrology and your natal birth chart and where everything is that's taking place relating to your planets as well, I will be putting a free natal link down below in the description box. Also, my email is down there, so if anybody would like to have a reading with me, because this is just, well, this is a collective, general collective reading, so a more personal and private reading would kind of involve your story line. And yeah, anybody who's interested, email me, let me know. And anybody who would wish to make a donation to my channel would be greatly received. And my PayPal is actually on my banner. I think you'll find my PayPal link. So thank you once again for listening, and enjoy this full moon lunar eclipse, which is going to last right through to 6 months. And I will be back very soon, hopefully with a video for the 12th of January as well. Take care. Thank you.